They say butterfly wings can start hurricanes on the other side of the world. Kamari never believed that until the moment she dropped a water bottle in Incheon Airport's VIP lounge. Such a small thing. Plastic hitting the marble floor. A sound that shouldn't have mattered. But it made him look up. Park Do-hyun, surrounded by bodyguards and speaking rapid Korean into his phone, went silent mid-sentence when that bottle hit the ground. His head turned. His eyes found hers. And Kamari watched a man who clearly commanded empires look at her like she was a ghost he'd been running from for 10 years. She should have walked away, should have grabbed Jabari and disappeared into the crowd. But her feet wouldn't move, and her son, completely oblivious, kept playing his game with his father's eyes and his father's smile. Do-hyun was moving toward them now, his security team confused, his phone forgotten, his whole body oriented toward her like she was magnetic north. When he got close enough, when he saw Jabari properly, his face did something complicated. Math and realization and devastation all at once. Then he looked at her, and his voice came out broken when he asked, "Do you still remember me?" But what killed her, what absolutely destroyed her, was the way he said it. Not like a greeting, like a prayer. Like he'd spent every single day of the last 10 years hoping she did, terrified she didn't, and completely unprepared for the answer. And Kamari realized that remembering him had never been the problem. Forgetting him was what she'd failed to do for a decade. Kamari hated airports. The noise, the crowd, the smell of too many people in one space. But Incheon Airport was different. Clean, massive, and somehow still loud, even though everyone seemed to speak in hushed tones. She adjusted the strap of her carry-on bag and looked down at Jabari, her 9-year-old son, who was glued to his tablet as usual. "Baby, look up for a second. We need to find the VIP lounge your office booked for us," she said, tucking a lock behind her ear. "Mom, I'm about to beat this level," Jabari mumbled, his fingers moving fast across the screen. Kamari sighed. Boys and their games. She pulled out her phone to check the email again when someone bumped into her from behind. She stumbled forward, her bag slipping off her shoulder. Sorry. A businessman rushed past without even looking at her. "Rude," she muttered under her breath. Seoul was going to take some getting used to. The VIP lounge was on the 3rd floor, tucked away behind frosted glass doors. Kamari pushed them open and immediately felt out of place. Leather chairs, soft lighting, and people who looked like they owned companies. She smoothed down her travel-worn sweater and guided Jabari to a corner seat. "Stay here. Don't talk to strangers. I'm going to get us some water," she said. "Okay, Mom." She walked toward the refreshment area, her sneakers quiet on the polished floor. As she reached for a bottle of water, she heard a voice behind her. Deep, speaking in Korean, giving what sounded like instructions. She didn't understand the words, but something about the tone made her spine tingle. She turned around, and her whole world stopped. Park Do-hyun stood 15 feet away from her, and surrounded by 4 men in dark suits. He was talking into his phone, his face sharp and focused. 10 years had changed him. His boyish softness was gone, replaced by angles and shadows. His hair was styled back, his black coat hung perfectly on his shoulders, and when he laughed at something the person on the phone said, she saw a flash of the boy she used to know. Daniel. Her Daniel. Except he was never really hers, was he? Kamari's hands went cold. The water bottle slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a loud thud. The sound echoed in the quiet lounge. Do-hyun looked up. Their eyes met. She watched his expression change. Confusion first, then recognition, then something she couldn't name. His phone slipped from his ear. One of the men next to him said something, but Do-hyun didn't respond. He just stared at her like she was a ghost. "Kamari," he whispered, but she was too far away to hear it. She just saw his lips form her name. She grabbed another water bottle, her hands shaking now, and turned to walk away. Fast. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. "Mom, you forgot to open it," Jabari said when she got back to their seats. She twisted the cap, her fingers clumsy. "Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back." She looked back. Do-hyun was walking toward her. No, not walking. Moving. Like a man on a mission. The four suited men followed close behind, and people in the lounge shifted out of their way without even being asked. "Kamari," he said again, this time loud enough for her to hear. "Do you still remember me?" She stood up, instinctively stepping in front of Jabari. I need to go." "Wait." Do-hyun stopped a few feet away, his eyes searching her face. "Please, just wait." Jabari looked up from his tablet, curious now. "Mom, who's that?" Do-hyun's gaze dropped to Jabari. She watched him go completely still. His eyes moved from Jabari's face to hers, then back again. He was doing the math. She could see it happening in real time. Jabari had his eyes. The exact same dark brown, almost black, with the same slight upturn at the corners. Even the way Jabari's eyebrows furrowed when he was confused. It was all Do-hyun. "Is he?" Do-hyun's voice cracked. "Is he mine?" "We have a flight connection to make," Kamari said, grabbing Jabari's hand and pulling him up. "Kamari, please!" "You left," she said, her voice low and sharp. "You don't get to please me." She pulled Jabari past Do-hyun, so past the suited men who looked confused about whether to move or not, and out of the VIP lounge. Her eyes were burning, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not now. Not in front of her son. "Mom, you're hurting my hand," Jabari said. She loosened her grip. "Sorry, baby." "Who was that man?" "No one," she lied. "Just someone I used to know." Behind them, through the frosted glass, she could see Do-hyun's silhouette. He was standing in the same spot, unmoving, like she'd just shattered his entire world. Good, she thought. Now he knows how it feels. 10 years ago, Nairobi had been warm and loud and full of life. Kamari was 19, studying international law at university, and absolutely not interested in dating. She had goals, plans, a future that didn't include distractions. Then Daniel Park showed up in her African history class. He sat in the back, took notes in Korean, and never spoke unless the professor called on him. When he did speak, his English was careful and soft. Some of the other students mocked his accent. Kamari hated that. One day, she turned around and handed him her notes. "You can copy these if you want. Professor Mwangi talks too fast sometimes." He blinked at her, surprised. "Thank you." His smile was shy. She liked it. They became study partners, then friends, then more. Daniel told her he was in Kenya to escape his family's expectations. He didn't say much about them, just that they wanted him to be someone he wasn't. Kamari understood that. Her own mother had wanted her to be a doctor, not a lawyer. For one perfect year, they were inseparable. He taught her Korean phrases. She taught him how to make chapati. They studied in the library until it closed, then walked back to her dorm under Nairobi's stars. "I've never felt this before," he told her one night, his head in her lap as they sat under a jacaranda tree. "Like I can just be." "Then stay," she said, running her fingers through his hair. "Be with me." "I will," he promised. "I'm not going anywhere." 3 weeks later, he was gone. No note, no call, no explanation. His apartment was empty, his phone number disconnected. It was like Daniel Park had never existed. Kamari cried for 2 weeks straight. Then she found out she was pregnant. "Hey, I know you just started this story, but do me a favor real quick. Hit that like button if you're already hooked, and subscribe because this story is about to get wild." Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Okay, back to the story. But Kamari's phone rang 3 times before she finally answered it. She was in her new apartment in Gangnam, boxes still unpacked everywhere, and Jabari was in his room setting up his toys. Hello, Ms. Omandi. This is Kim Minji from the office. I'm calling to confirm your start date for Monday. Yes, Monday works perfectly, Kamari said, moving a box labeled kitchen off the couch so she could sit down. Wonderful. Also, there's been a slight change. We've arranged for a driver to pick you up on your first day. Mr. Choi thought it would help you navigate the city better. Kamari frowned. That's really not necessary. I can take the subway. Mr. Choi insists. The driver will be there at 8 in the morning. After she hung up, Kamari stared at her phone. Something felt off about that. But maybe this was just how things worked in Seoul. Her new job at the International Children's Rights Organization was a huge step up from her work in Nairobi. Better pay, bigger cases, more resources. She should be grateful. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Unknown. Please let me explain. Just coffee. 1 hour. That's all I ask. Her finger hovered over the delete button. Then another text came through. Unknown. I know I don't deserve it, but he deserves to know the truth. And so do you. She threw her phone onto the couch like it had burned her. How did he even get her number? Actually, a stupid question. If Do Hyun was wealthy enough to fly VIP, he probably had connections. The real question was why he thought she owed him anything. Mom, can we get chicken for dinner? Jabari appeared in the doorway, his hair sticking up in every direction. Sure, baby. Let me find the menu. Are you okay? You look sad. Kamari forced a smile. I'm fine. Just tired from the move. Jabari came over and hugged her waist. I think Seoul is nice. My room is bigger than our old one. Yeah? Yeah. And maybe I'll make friends at my new school. She kissed the top of his head. You'll make so many friends. They won't know what to do with you. That night, after Jabari fell asleep, Kamari sat by the window and looked out at the city lights. Seoul was beautiful in a cold, glittering way, so different from Nairobi's warm chaos. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown. I'm sorry. For everything. For leaving. For not being there. For missing 9 years of his life. I'm sorry, she typed back before she could stop herself. Kamari. Sorry, and it doesn't fix anything. Unknown. I know. Let me try anyway. She turned off her phone and went to bed, but sleep didn't come easily. Her mind kept replaying the moment in the airport, the look on Do Hyun's face when he saw Jabari, the way he'd whispered her name like a prayer. Monday morning came too fast. The driver was exactly on time, standing beside a black car that looked expensive but not flashy. He was older, with kind eyes, and he opened the door for her without saying much. The office building was in the heart of Seoul, glass and steel reaching up into the gray sky. Kamari's heels clicked on the marble lobby floor as she checked in with security. Ms. Omandi, welcome, Minji greeted her with a bow. She was young, pretty, and spoke perfect English. Let me show you to your office. The day passed in a blur of introductions, on paperwork and orientations. By lunch, Kamari's head was spinning with names and procedures. She was eating a kimbap at her desk when Minji knocked on the door. These just arrived for you, she said, carrying in a bouquet of flowers. Not just any flowers. Kenyan roses, red and orange and yellow, the kind that grew in her mother's garden back home. Who sent them? Kamari asked, already knowing the answer. Minji pulled out a card. There's a note. Kamari took it with shaking hands. Welcome to Seoul. I hope your first day is everything you dreamed of. Please let me show you the city this weekend, for old time's sake. Tiako boy, must be someone special, Minji said with a smile. Must be someone stubborn, Kamari muttered. She threw the card in the trash, but she kept the flowers. They smelled like home. On Wednesday, a package arrived at her apartment. Inside was a children's book, written in both Korean and English, about a tiger and a rabbit who became friends. There was a note attached. For Jabari, I remember you loved stories about unlikely friendships. Does Jabari found it before she could hide it? Cool. Can you read it to me? Where did you find that? It was on the table. Is it from the man at the airport? Kamari's stomach dropped. Why would you think that? I don't know, Jabari shrugged. You've been weird since we saw him, and you only get weird about important stuff. 9 years old, and already too smart for his own good. She sat down next to him on the couch. Baby, that man, it's complicated. Is he my dad? The question hung in the air like smoke. Kamari had always been honest with Jabari. When he was 5 and asked where his father was, she told him the truth. Your dad had to leave before you were born. He didn't know about you. It's not your fault. But this was different. This was Do-hyun actually being here, actually wanting. What? A relationship? Forgiveness? A second chance? Yes, Kamari said finally. He's your dad. Jabari's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Why didn't he come back? I don't know yet. That's the complicated part. Can I meet him? Like actually meet him? Kamari's chest tightened. She wanted to say no. Wanted to pack them both up and fly back to Kenya, where life made sense. But Jabari was looking at her with so much hope, and she'd never been good at crushing hope. Maybe, she said. Let me think about it. That night, she texted Do-hyun. Kamari, 1 meeting. You and me first. No, Jabari. Not yet. His response came in seconds. Do-hyun, thank you. When and where? Kamari, Saturday, 2 p.m. Send me the address of somewhere public place. Do-hyun, I'll send a car. Kamari, I'll take a taxi. Do-hyun, understood. Saturday afternoon, Kamari left Jabari with a babysitter she'd hired through the office. The address Do-hyun sent was for a cafe in Bukchon, a neighborhood full of traditional Hanok houses and tourists. She arrived 10 minutes late on purpose. Do-hyun was already there, sitting at a corner table, wearing jeans and a simple sweater. He looked more like the Daniel she remembered, and less like the intimidating man from the airport. He stood up when he saw her. You came? I said I would, she said, sitting down across from him, keeping the table between them like a shield. A waitress appeared immediately, bowing low. Mr. Park, the usual. Please. And he looked at Kamari. What would you like? Green tea. After the waitress left, silence stretched between them. Do-hyun looked like he wanted to say 1,000 things and didn't know where to start. You cut your hair, he said finally. That's what you want to talk about? My hair? No, you look beautiful. Different, but beautiful. Don't, Kamari said sharply. Don't do that. Don't act like this is some romantic reunion. You left me pregnant and alone. Do-hyun flinched like she'd hit him. I didn't know. You didn't give me a chance to tell you. You're right, he said quietly. You're absolutely right. Kamari, can I explain why I left? She crossed her arms. Go ahead. He took a breath. My name isn't Daniel Park. It's Park Do-hyun. My father was Park Jin-woo. He ran a business empire in Seoul. I didn't want any part of it, so I ran. I went to Kenya to hide, to be normal, to figure out who I was without his shadow. Okay, Kamari said slowly. So your dad was some corporate tyrant. That's why you ghosted me? He was murdered, Do-hyun said, his voice flat. Shot in his office. I got the call while I was in class. My mother said if I didn't come home immediately, everyone I loved would be next. She said they were watching me. Watching you. Kamari's anger wavered. Do-hyun. I had 1 hour to get to the airport. I couldn't risk calling you. Couldn't risk them tracing anything back to you. I thought if I just disappeared, you'd be safe. You'd move on. You'd forget about me. I was 19 and in love with you, Kamari said, her voice breaking. You don't just forget that. I know. He reached across the table like he wanted to hold her hand, then thought better of it. I know, and I'm sorry. I have spent 10 years regretting that choice, every single day. The waitress brought their drinks. The interruption gave Kamari time to process. Do-hyun's father was murdered. He was threatened. He was trying to protect her. It didn't erase the pain, but it added context. What happened after you came back? She asked. Do-hyun's expression darkened. I took over my father's business. I didn't have a choice. What kind of business? He hesitated. Import, export, logistics. It's boring corporate stuff. Something about the way he said it felt off, but Kamari was too emotionally drained to push. And now? Why come back into my life now? Because I saw you at the airport and realized I never stopped loving you, he said simply. And then I saw him, our son. Kamari, I missed 9 years. I can't get those back, but I need to be part of his life. Part of your life, if you'll let me. He asked about you, Kamari said. Jabari. He asked if you were his dad. Do-hyun's eyes went bright. What did you tell him? The truth. Can I meet him, please? Kamari studied him. This man who was Daniel but also wasn't, who left her, but maybe for good reasons, who looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Not yet, she said. You don't get to just walk in and be dad. You have to earn that. Tell me how, Do-hyun said immediately. Tell me what I need to do. I don't know yet, she admitted. But rushing it isn't fair to Jabari. He's 9, he's sensitive, and he's my whole world. I won't let anyone hurt him. I won't hurt him, I swear on my life. You already did, Kamari said quietly, by not being there. Do-hyun looked down at his untouched coffee. You're right. I'll do whatever it takes, however long it takes. They talked for another hour, carefully, tentatively. Do-hyun told her about Seoul, about places Jabari might like, about his regrets. Kamari told him about her pregnancy, about raising Jabari alone, about law school with a baby on her hip. When they finally left the cafe, the sun was setting, painting the Hanok roofs gold. Can I see you again? Do-hyun asked. Maybe, Kamari said. I'll think about it. I'll wait, he said. I'm good at waiting. She turned to leave, then stopped. Now, Do-hyun? Yeah? Don't send any more gifts to my office. People are starting to ask questions. He smiled, a real smile, the kind that reminded her of Daniel. No promises. As she got into the taxi, she looked back. He was still standing there, watching her leave. And for just a second, she let herself remember what it felt like to be 19 and in love. Then she told the driver her address and didn't look back again. The following week, Do-hyun showed up at Jabari's school. Not inside, that would be too forward, but across the street at a coffee shop with windows that faced the playground. Kamari spotted him immediately when she arrived for pickup. She crossed the street, anger making her steps quick. The bell above the door chimed when she entered. Are you following us now? She asked, standing over his table. Do-hyun looked up from his laptop. No, I'm working remotely today and chose a cafe with good Wi-Fi, across from my son's school. Is it? What a coincidence. Do-hyun. He closed his laptop and sighed. I just wanted to see him, even from far away. Is that so wrong? Kamari sat down, mostly so she wouldn't cause a scene. Yes, actually. It's creepy. You're right. I'm sorry. I'll leave. But he didn't move. Neither did she. Through the window, they could see children pouring out of the school building, backpacks bouncing, voices carrying across the street. Which one is he? Do-hyun asked softly. Kamari pointed. Red backpack, Iron Man shirt. Jabari was laughing with another boy, his smile bright and easy. Do-hyun's expression did something complicated, like he was in pain and happy at the same time. He looked so much like my mother, Do-hyun said. She had that same smile. Had? She passed away 2 years ago, heart attack. I'm sorry. She would have loved him. Do-hyun's voice was thick. She always wanted grandchildren. Kamari watched Jabari tackle his friend in a playful wrestling match. The teacher separated them with a laugh. He's a good kid. Smart. Sometimes too smart. He asks a lot of questions. Like his mother. And probably his father. Do-hyun turned to look at her. Let me take you both to dinner. Somewhere Jabari would like. I promise I'll be on my best behavior. Do-hyun. Please, Kamari. I'm not asking to be his dad right away. I'm asking for a chance to know him. Let me be your friend from the university. Nothing more. Not yet. Against every logical thought in her head, Kamari found herself nodding. Okay, but somewhere casual, and if he feels uncomfortable at any point, we leave. Deal. They chose a family restaurant in Myeongdong, the kind with plastic menus and food that came out fast. Jabari was nervous at first, sitting stiff in his chair, but Do-hyun had come prepared. Your mom told me you like Iron Man, Do-hyun said, sliding a small box across the table. Jabari looked at Kamari for permission. She nodded. Inside was a limited edition Iron Man figure, the kind that came in collector packaging. Jabari's eyes went huge. This is the Mark 50. They stopped making these. I know a guy, Do-hyun said with a smile. Can I open it? It's yours. Do whatever you want with it. Jabari tore into the packaging immediately, and just like that, the ice broke. Over bibimbap and fried chicken, Jabari talked Do-hyun's ear off about school, his friends, the soccer team he wanted to join, and his favorite video games. Do-hyun listened to every word, like it was the most important thing he'd ever heard. Do you know Taekwondo? Jabari asked, mouth full of rice. Chew first, baby, Kamari said automatically. Jabari swallowed. Do you? I do, Do-hyun said. I trained for 12 years. That's so cool. Can you teach me? Do-hyun glanced at Kamari. She could see the hope in his eyes, the careful way he was trying not to overstep. If your mom says it's okay, he said. Mom, please? Kamari felt trapped between her son's excitement and her own caution. We'll see. But Jabari was already describing a fight scene from a movie, using his chopsticks as weapons, and Do-hyun was laughing, and Kamari felt something in her chest crack open just a little. After dinner, they walked through Myeongdong's night market. Jabari ran ahead, looking at street food stalls and tourist shops. Do-hyun fell into step beside Kamari. Thank you, he said quietly. For tonight. He's happy. That's all I care about. He's wonderful. You did an amazing job raising him. I didn't have much choice. Still. Single motherhood, law school, moving countries. You're incredible. Kamari felt heat rise in her cheeks. Stop! It's true. Jabari came running back with a vendor following him. Mom, can I get hot dog? The man said it's sweet pancakes. How much? Kamari started digging in her purse. Do-hyun was already handing the vendor money. The vendor bowed deeply, more than seemed necessary for a simple transaction, and rushed to make the freshest hot dog. You don't have to pay for everything, Kamari said. I know. I want to. The vendor came back with the hot dog wrapped in paper, still steaming. He gave it to Jabari and bowed to Do-hyun again, this time saying something in rapid Korean. What did he say? Kamari asked. Just thank you, Do-hyun said, but his expression had shifted. Careful. Guarded. They walked Jabari around for another 30 minutes before heading back to the car. Do-hyun had insisted on sending his driver, and Kamari had been too tired to argue. In the back seat, Jabari fell asleep against her shoulder, the Iron Man figure clutched in his hand. "He's out," Kamari whispered. Do-hyun looked over from his side of the car. The streetlights painted his face in moving shadows. "Can I? Why, can I take a picture?" "Of him?" "Of both of you. Please. I just want something to remember tonight." Kamari nodded. Do-hyun pulled out his phone and took a photo, his hand shaking slightly. When they arrived at her apartment building, Do-hyun got out to open her door. He lifted Jabari carefully into his arms. The boy stirred but didn't wake. "I can carry him," Kamari said. "I know. Let me." In the elevator, Jabari shifted and mumbled something in his sleep. Do-hyun looked down at him with such raw emotion that Kamari had to look away. At her door, Do-hyun gently transferred Jabari back to her. Their hands touched in the exchange. Neither moved for a moment. "Good night, Kamari," he said softly. "Good night." She watched him walk back to the elevator, his hands in his pockets, his shoulders slightly hunched. And right before the doors closed, he looked back at her and smiled. Kamari got Jabari into bed without waking him fully. As she tucked him in, he opened his eyes just a crack. "I like Mr. Park," he mumbled. "He's nice." "Yeah, baby, he is." "Is he going to stay this time?" The question hit her in the chest. "I don't know." "I hope he does." Jabari yawned and rolled over, asleep again in seconds. Kamari stood in the doorway for a long time, watching her son sleep, wondering what she was doing, wondering if she was making a huge mistake. Her phone buzzed. "Do-hyun, he's perfect. Thank you for letting me meet him. Sleep well." She saved his number under his real name this time. Park. Do-hyun. Not Daniel. That boy was gone. This was someone new, someone she was starting to want to know. The next 2 weeks fell into a pattern. Do-hyun would text in the morning, always asking permission. "Can I pick Jabari up from school? Can I bring dinner? Can I take you both to the Han River this weekend?" Kamari said yes more than she said no. She told herself it was for Jabari. Her son deserved a father. But late at night, when she was alone, she admitted the truth. She liked having Do-hyun around, liked the way he made her laugh, liked the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention. But there were moments that didn't add up, like the time they went to a restaurant in Gangnam and the owner literally closed the entire place for them. "Just a slow night," Do-hyun had said. But Kamari saw the staff scrambling, saw the way they bowed, or when they were walking through a market, and a group of men in leather jackets saw Do-hyun and immediately crossed to the other side of the street. Or the phone calls, always in Korean, always making Do-hyun step away, always ending with him looking tense. "Business stuff," he'd say when she asked. "What kind of business exactly?" "Import, export. It's boring." But men in boring businesses didn't have 3 security guards following them at all times. Kamari had noticed them after the first week. Always nearby, always watching, always communicating through earpieces. "Why do you need security?" she asked one day, while Jabari was at taekwondo practice. Do-hyun had started teaching him twice a week at a private gym. Through the window, they could see Jabari learning basic stances, his face serious with concentration. Seoul can be dangerous," Do-hyun said. "For import-export executives? For anyone with money? How much money are we talking about?" Do-hyun turned to look at her. "Does it matter?" "It matters if you're not being honest with me. I'm being as honest as I can be." "That's not the same as actual honesty." Before he could respond, Jabari came running out, sweaty and grinning. "Did you see? I did a front kick." "I saw, baby. It was great," Kamari said, letting the conversation drop. But she didn't forget. At work, Kamari had been assigned her first major case, a trafficking investigation. Young women were disappearing from rural areas and ending up in Seoul, forced into labor or worse. The police reports were thin, the witnesses scared. "This is going to be difficult," her supervisor, Mr. Choi, said during the briefing. These organizations are well connected. They have people in the police and in the government. You'll need to be careful." "I'm always careful," Kamari said. She started by interviewing families, mothers who'd lost daughters, sisters searching for siblings. Each story broke her heart and strengthened her resolve. One name kept coming up: Volkov, Russian. Operated in Itaewon and Gangnam. Impossible to touch. Kamari made notes, started building a case file. She didn't notice the way Mr. Choi watched her work, worry in his eyes. Friday night, Do-hyun took them to Lotta World. Jabari lost his mind over the rides, dragging them from one to another until they were all dizzy and laughing. "I need to sit," Kamari said, collapsing on a bench. "Weak," Do-hyun teased, sitting beside her. "Old," she corrected. "Well, I'm not 19 anymore." "Neither am I, but you're still beautiful." There it was again. That look, the one that made her stomach flip. "Do-hyun, I know, too fast. I'm sorry." "It's not that," she said quietly. Jabari was in line for cotton candy, out of earshot. "It's just, I don't know what this is, what we're doing. What do you want it to be?" "I don't know that either." He shifted closer, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. "I never stopped loving you, Kamari. I know I don't have the right to say that. I know I hurt you, but it's the truth." Her heart was beating too fast. "It's been 10 years. We're different people now. So let me get to know the person you are now. Let me earn a second chance." She looked at him. Really looked. At the man who brought her son home from school with stories and snacks, who learned to say good morning in Swahili, who looked at her like she was something precious. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay? Okay, let's see where this goes. Slowly." Do-hyun's smile was brighter than all the lights in the theme park. He reached for her hand, hesitant, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Jabari came running back with bright blue cotton candy and stopped short. "Are you guys holding hands?" "Is that okay?" Do-hyun asked. Jabari grinned. "Does this mean Mr. Park is your boyfriend now, Mom?" It's complicated," Kamari stammered. "Adults are weird," Jabari said, shoving cotton candy in his mouth. That night, after Jabari went to bed, Kamari and Do-hyun sat on her small balcony. Seoul spread out below them, now millions of lights in the darkness. "I should tell you something," Do-hyun said. "Okay." "My business, it's not exactly what I said." Kamari's stomach tightened. "What is it exactly?" Before he could answer, his phone rang. He looked at the screen, and his whole body tensed. "I need to take this." He walked inside, speaking in rapid Korean. Kamari couldn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Angry, commanding, cold. When he came back, the softness was gone from his face. "I have to go. Something came up." "What kind of something?" "Business. I'm sorry. I'll call you tomorrow." He kissed her forehead, quick and distracted, and left. Kamari stood on the balcony for a long time after, wondering what she'd just agreed to. "Hey, I need you to do something for me. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think Do-hyun is hiding. Is he just a rich businessman, or is there something darker going on? Let me know your theories. And if you're loving this story, share it with someone who loves K-dramas as much as you do. The next week, Kamari's investigation took her to Itaewon. She'd arranged to meet with a potential witness, a woman who'd escaped from one of the trafficking houses. The address was in a back alley above a nori bang. Kamari climbed the narrow stairs, her hand on her phone just in case. The woman who answered the door was young, maybe 22, with scared eyes. "You're the lawyer?" "Yes, I'm Kamari. Thank you for agreeing to talk." They sat in a tiny apartment that smelled like cigarettes and fear. The woman, who only gave her name as Yuna, told her story. Promised a job at a restaurant. Passport taken. Locked in a room with 6 other girls, men coming and going. Threats. Violence. "How did you escape?" Kamari asked, taking notes. "One of the guards let me go. Said his boss was changing and things were going to get messy. Told me to run and not look back." "Do you remember names? Faces?" Yuna pulled out her phone and showed Kamari photos. She'd been smart, documenting everything she could. One photo made Kamari freeze. It was blurry, taken through a crack in a door, but she could see men in a meeting, and in the corner, barely visible, was someone who looked like one of Do-hyun's security guards. "Do you know this man?" Kamari pointed. "No, but he was with the Russians a lot. They called him, I don't remember. Something like Jin?" Kamari's hands went cold. Jin. It was a common name. None could be anyone. But the face looked so familiar. "Can you send me these photos? Will I be safe?" "I'll make sure of it. You have my word." After the interview, Kamari walked back through Itaewon in a daze. She was so distracted that she didn't notice the man following her until he was right behind her. "Ms. Omondi?" She spun around. He was tall, Western, with a thick accent. Russian, maybe. "Yes?" "You should be careful asking questions. Seoul is dangerous for curious people." "Are you threatening me?" He smiled. No warmth in it. "Informing you. Have a nice day." He walked away, and Kamari stood there, heart pounding. She pulled out her phone and called Do-hyun without thinking. "Kamari, what's wrong?" Can you come get me?" "Where are you?" she told him. He was there in 15 minutes, pulling up in a black car with tinted windows. He got out and immediately put himself between her and the street. "What happened?" She told him about the man, the warning. Do-hyun's expression went dark. "Get in the car." Do-hyun. "Please, just get in." One of his security guards was already talking into his earpiece. Another was scanning the street. Military precision. In the car, Do-hyun held her hand tight. "Why were you in Itaewon?" "Work. I'm investigating a case." "What kind of case?" "Trafficking. Young women." "Why?" His jaw clenched. "You need to drop it." "Excuse me?" "That investigation. Drop it. It's too dangerous." Kamari pulled her hand away. "You don't get to tell me what cases to take." "Kamari, you don't understand. These people, they don't play games. They'll hurt you. Then help me build a case against them." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because it's complicated." "Everything with you is complicated," she said, frustrated. "Your business is complicated. Your security is complicated. Your phone calls are complicated. Do-hyun, what are you not telling me?" The car stopped in front of her building. Do-hyun looked at her, and she saw something like fear in his eyes. "I'm trying to keep you safe," he said quietly. "By keeping me in the dark?" "Yes." "That's not how this works. If we're going to be anything, I need honesty." "I know. So tell me the truth. What do you really do?" Do-hyun opened his mouth, then closed it. The conflict on his face was painful to watch. "I can't," he said finally. "Not yet. Please, just trust me." Trust goes both ways. She got out of the car and didn't look back, even when she heard him call her name, even when every part of her wanted to turn around. Inside her apartment, she leaned against the door and tried to calm down. Her phone buzzed. "Do-hyun, I'm sorry. Please be careful. I'll explain everything soon. I promise." She didn't respond. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the photo Yuna had sent, about the man who looked like Do-hyun's guard, about the Russian who'd threatened her. At 2 in the morning, she got up and opened her laptop, started searching. Park, Do-hyun, Seoul, business. Most of what came up was normal. Company acquisitions, charity donations, society page photos. But then she found an article buried on page 8 of the search results. 3 years old. A scandal involving Park Industries and alleged organized crime connections. The article had been retracted, and the journalist had publicly apologized. But someone had archived it, and in that archive, she found a name. Park Do-hyun, suspected head of the Park family syndicate. Syndicate, as in the Mafia. Kamari slammed her laptop shut. No, that couldn't be right. Do-hyun was kind, gentle with Jabari. He couldn't be. He wouldn't be. But the security, the fear people showed him, the way that vendor had bowed, the Russians. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. Stop investigating Volkov. Last warning. Then another text. A photo. It was Jabari, leaving school. Taken today. Kamari's blood went cold. She called Do-hyun. He answered on the first ring. They sent me a photo of Jabari, she said, her voice shaking. I'm on my way. He was there in 10 minutes. She buzzed him up without hesitation. When he walked in, he wasn't alone. 3 men in suits followed him, immediately checking her windows, her door, her entire apartment. Pack a bag, Do-hyun said. You and Jabari. You're coming with me. What? No. Tell me what's happening. The Russians. They know you're investigating them, and they know you're with me. Why would they care that I'm with you? Do-hyun looked at her, really looked at her, and she saw him make a decision. Because I'm Park Do-hyun, and in Seoul, that name means something. What does it mean? It means I run this city, he said quietly. The parts of it that exist in the shadows. And if the Russians are threatening you to get to me, then you're in more danger than you know. Kamari felt the floor drop out from under her. You're a criminal. Yes, the Mafia. We don't use that word, but yes. And you didn't think to tell me this before I let you into my son's life. I was trying to protect you from it. By lying? By giving you a choice you couldn't make if you knew the truth. Kamari's hands were shaking. With fear or anger, or both, she couldn't tell. Get out. Kamari, please. Get out of my apartment. Stay away from me. Stay away from Jabari. They have your picture. They have his picture. I can't leave you unprotected. You're the reason we need protection in the first place. That hit him. She could see it land. You're right, he said. This is my fault. But please, let me fix it. Let me keep you safe. How? By what? Killing people? Is that what you do? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. Kamari felt sick. I want you to leave. Now! I'll post guards outside your building. I don't want your guards. I don't want anything from you. Kamari, you lied to me. You lied to our son. Everything you said, everything you did, it was all while hiding what you really are. I'm still the same person. No, she said, tears burning her eyes. Daniel was the person I loved. I don't know who you are. Do-hyun looked like she'd shot him. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll go. But the guards stay. You don't have to see them. You don't have to acknowledge them. But they stay. Non-negotiable. He walked to the door, his men following. At the threshold, he turned back. I love you, he said. I love Jabari. That was never a lie. And I will fix this. I promise. Then he was gone. Kamari locked the door behind him and slid down to the floor. She pulled her knees to her chest and finally let herself cry. In his bedroom, Jabari slept peacefully, unaware that his world had just shattered. Again. Kamari didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch, her phone in one hand, a kitchen knife in the other, watching the door. At 6 in the morning, Jabari wandered out of his room, rubbing his eyes. "Mom, why are you still awake?" She put the knife down quickly. "Couldn't sleep, baby. Bad dreams." "Can I have pancakes?" Normal. She could do normal. She made pancakes while Jabari talked about his upcoming soccer tryouts, pretending her hands weren't shaking, pretending her world wasn't falling apart. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello?" "Ms. Omondi. This is Officer Kang from Seoul Metro Police. We received a report that you were threatened yesterday. Can you come to the station to make a statement?" Do-hyun. He must have reported it. Part of her was angry. Part of her was grateful. "I'll come this afternoon," she said. After dropping Jabari at school, she noticed them. 2 men in a parked car across the street. Do-hyun's guards. She wanted to march over and tell them to leave, but the photo of Jabari flashed in her mind. She let them stay. At work, Minji knocked on her door with more flowers. These just arrived. Not roses this time. Sunflowers. Bright and simple. The card said, "I'm sorry. I understand if you hate me. But please, stay safe." D.H. Kamari threw the card away but kept the flowers. She was weak like that. Mr. Choi called her into his office around noon. He looked uncomfortable. "Kamari, I need to ask you something, and please be honest. Are you involved with Park Do-hyun?" Her stomach dropped. "Why are you asking?" "Because your investigation into the Volkov organization has raised some flags, and Park Do-hyun's name came up in our intelligence briefing this morning." "In what context?" Mr. Choi sighed. "He's been on our radar for years. We can't prove anything, but there are suspicions. If you're personally involved with him, it could compromise your work here." "I'm not involved with him," Kamari said. It wasn't exactly a lie. Not anymore. Good. Because these organizations, Parks included, they're dangerous. I need you to be careful. "I will." But as she left his office, her mind was racing. The police knew about Do-hyun. They'd been watching him for years. How had she been so blind? That evening, she picked Jabari up from school herself. The guards followed at a distance. Jabari noticed them this time. "Mom, why are those men following us?" They work for someone who wants to make sure we're safe." "Mr. Park?" She didn't answer. At home, Jabari was quiet during dinner. Finally, he put down his fork. "Is Mr. Park coming over tonight?" "No, baby." "Is he coming over tomorrow?" "I don't think so." "Why not?" "Did I do something wrong?" Kamari's heart broke. No. You didn't do anything wrong. Mr. Park and I we had a disagreement." "About what?" "Adult stuff." "Is it because he's my dad? Are you mad that he wasn't here before? It's complicated." "You always say that when you don't want to explain," Jabari said, and there were tears in his eyes now. I finally had a dad, and now he's gone again. It's not fair." He ran to his room and slammed the door. Kamari sat at the table alone, staring at her cold food, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so fast. Her phone buzzed. Do-hyun. "How is he?" She stared at the message. He probably had the guards reporting back, probably knew about Jabari's outburst. Kamari. "He misses you." Do-hyun. "I miss him too. I miss you both." Kamari. "You should have told me the truth from the beginning." Do-hyun. "I know. I was selfish. I wanted to be Daniel again just for a little while. I'm sorry." She didn't respond. What was there to say? 3 days passed. Kamari threw herself into work. The Volkov case was building. She had testimonies, photos, and evidence. Enough to bring to the prosecutor. The guards stayed outside her building. She pretended not to see them. Jabari stopped asking about Do-hyun. That was somehow worse than the questions. On Thursday, Kamari was in a meeting when her phone rang. The school. She stepped outside to answer. "Miss Omandi, this is Principal Lee. I'm calling because Jabari wasn't in his last 2 classes. We thought perhaps you picked him up early." Everything stopped. "What?" "No, I didn't pick him up. He left the building after lunch. Security footage shows him getting into a car." "What car? With who?" "We're reviewing the footage now. We've called the police." Kamari's phone slipped from her hand. Someone caught it. Minji. "What happened?" "Jabari, someone took him." The next hour was a blur. Police. Questions. Footage showing Jabari being led to a black van by 2 men, her son looking confused, but not scared, like they'd told him something to make him trust them. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Ms. Omandi, we have your son." Russian accent. The same man from Itaewon. "If you heard him, I swear." "Relax. Boy is fine. Eating snacks, watching cartoons. He thinks he's on an adventure." "What do you want?" "You stop the investigation. You leave Korea. You forget everything you learned. Do this. Boy comes home." "Let me talk to him." There was shuffling. Then Jabari's voice. "Mom, these men said they know Mr. Park. They said he sent them to pick me up because you were busy." Kamari's vision blurred with tears. "Baby, are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I'm okay. When are you coming?" "Soon, baby. Very soon. I'd love you." The Russian came back on. "Sweet boy. Would be a shame if something happened. I thought you have 24 hours to decide." The line went dead. Kamari stood there, phone in hand, the world tilting around her. Then she did the only thing she could do. She called Do-hyun. He answered immediately. "Kamari." "They took him." Her voice broke. "The Russians took Jabari." Silence. Then, in a voice she'd never heard before, cold and deadly. "I'm coming to you. Don't talk to anyone. Don't do anything. I'll handle this." "Do-hyun, if they hurt him, they won't. I promise you, they won't. I'm 10 minutes away." He was there in 7. When he walked into the police station, everything changed. Officers straightened. The detective in charge suddenly got very quiet. Do-hyun's presence filled the room like a storm. "Everyone out," he said quietly. "Sir, this is a police investigation," the detective started. Do-hyun turned to look at him. Just looked. The detective cleared his throat. "We'll give you a moment." When they were alone, Do-hyun took Kamari's hands. "Tell me everything." She did. The call, the threat, Jabari's voice. By the end, she was shaking. "This is my fault," Do-hyun said. "Volkov is using you to get to me. We've been fighting over territory in Gangnam. He's losing. This is his move. I don't care about your gang war. I just want my son back. And I'll get him back. I swear to you, Kamari, I will bring Jabari home." "How?" "By doing what I do." For the first time, she saw it fully. Not Daniel. Not the gentleman who taught Jabari taekwondo. This was Park Do-hyun, the Mafia boss. His eyes were hard, his jaw set. He pulled out his phone and made a call in Korean, his voice sharp with commands. Within 20 minutes, the room filled with his people. Men in suits, women with laptops, everyone moving with purpose. One of them spread out a map of Seoul on the table. "Volkov has 3 main locations," the man said in English, probably for Kamari's benefit. "Warehouse in Incheon, office in Gangnam, residential property in Yongsan." "Check all of them," Do-hyun ordered. "I want satellite feeds, traffic cameras, every piece of information we can get. And send word to Volkov. Tell him if the boy has a single scratch, I'm burning his entire operation to the ground." Kamari watched him work. Efficient, brutal, terrifying. This was the man the city feared, and he was doing it all for their son. 2 hours later, they had a location. The warehouse in Incheon. Heat signatures showed multiple people inside, one small enough to be a child. "I'm going with you," Kamari said. "No, he's my son." "Exactly. Which is why you need to stay here where it's safe." "Safe? There's nothing safe about any of this. I'm coming." Do-hyun looked at her, and something in his expression softened. "Okay, but you stay in the car. No arguments. No arguments." The drive to Incheon took 40 minutes. Do-hyun's convoy was 6 cars deep, men with guns, earpieces, moving like a military operation. Because that's what this was. War. They parked 2 blocks from the warehouse. Do-hyun turned to her. "No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, you stay in this car. Jin will be with you." He nodded to one of his guards. "If anything goes wrong, he'll get you out." "Do-hyun, please be careful." He touched her face, gentle despite everything. I'm getting our son back. That's all that matters." Then he was gone, moving through the darkness with his men like shadows. Kamari sat in the car, Jin beside her, silent and watchful. Minutes felt like hours. Then she heard it. Gunfire. "Oh God," she whispered. "Boss knows what he's doing," Jin said quietly. More gunfire. Shouting. Then silence. Her phone rang. Do-hyun. "I have him. He's safe." Kamari sobbed with relief. "Is he hurt?" "No. Scared, but not hurt. We're coming out." She saw them emerge from the warehouse. Do-hyun carrying Jabari, his coat wrapped around their son. Behind them, his men dragging out several people, hands zip-tied. The car door opened, and Do-hyun placed Jabari in her arms. "Mom!" Jabari clung to her, crying. "I've got you, baby! I've got you!" She checked him over. No injuries. Just scared. So scared. "The men said they were taking me to you," Jabari sobbed. "They lied. I know, baby. But you're safe now. Dad got you." Jabari looked at Do-hyun, who was standing outside the car, blood on his shirt. "Dad?" Do-hyun's eyes went bright. "Yeah, buddy, I got you. You came for me. Always. I'll always come for you." On the drive back, Jabari fell asleep between them, exhausted. Kamari looked at Do-hyun over their son's head. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to thank me. What happened to the men who took him?" Do-hyun's expression went dark. "They won't hurt anyone again. Did you kill them? Do you really want to know?" She thought about it, about her morals, her law degree, her belief in justice. Then she looked at Jabari, sleeping peacefully because Do-hyun had saved him. "No," she said quietly. I don't. Kamari, I know what I am. I know what I do. If you want to take Jabari and leave, I'll understand. I'll make sure you're protected, always. But I'll let you go. And if I don't want to leave?" He looked at her, hope and fear warring in his expression. "Then you need to know the truth, all of it. I run the Park Syndicate. We control most of Seoul's underground, gambling, protection, some imports that aren't exactly legal. I have blood on my hands, a lot of blood. I'm not a good man trying to be better. This is who I am. Why are you telling me this? Because I love you, because you deserve honesty, and because I can't. I won't build something with you on lies." Kamari looked down at Jabari, their son, the boy who'd grown up without a father and now had one who would burn the world down to protect him. "I should walk away," she said. "Everything I believe in says I should take Jabari and run. But I watched you tonight. The way you moved, the way your people followed you, the way you held Jabari like he was the most precious thing in the world. He is. You both are. I can't change you. I don't even know if I want to anymore. But if we do this, if we try, I need promises. Anything. Jabari never gets exposed to your world. He stays innocent. He gets a normal childhood. Done. And your business, the parts that hurt people, the trafficking, the things that destroy lives, you stop. or you use your power to stop others from doing them. Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. That's not how this world works. Then make it work differently. You said you run this city. Run it better. You want me to be some kind of, always what, noble criminal? I want you to be someone our son can be proud of, even if he never knows the full truth. Do-hyun looked at her like she'd just rewritten his entire world. You're not leaving. I'm not leaving, but I'm not letting you off easy either. You want us? Then you be the best version of what you are. You protect people instead of hurting them. You use your power for something other than money and control. You want to be my conscience. Someone has to be. A slow smile spread across his face. You're terrifying, you know that? Good. You should be a little scared of me. He reached across Jabari and took her hand. I am. In the best way. Okay, before we get to the ending, I need to know something. Are you Team Kamari or Team Do-hyun? Do you think she should have forgiven him or made him work harder for it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because you'll want to see what other stories I have coming. Now let's see how this all ends. 6 months later, Kamari stood in her apartment, looking out at Seoul's skyline. So much had changed. Do-hyun had kept his promises. His organization had quietly shifted. The trafficking rings that operated in Seoul started disappearing, not because of police raids, but because Park Do-hyun made it known that anyone dealing in human lives was his enemy. Kamari's investigation had led to arrests. Real arrests. With evidence that mysteriously appeared on prosecutors' desks, witness protection that actually worked, and cooperation from sources who refused to say where their information came from. Mr. Choi had asked her once if Do-hyun was helping. She just smiled and changed the subject. Now she worked during the day to save lives through legal means, and at night, Do-hyun would tell her about his world, asking her opinion, letting her guide his choices. There's a building in Itaewon, he'd say. Illegal gambling. Some loan sharking. What do you think? Gambling among adults who choose it, fine. Loan sharking that traps people in debt, not fine. So we shut down the loans, keep the gambling clean, and make sure everyone there has a choice. Exactly. It wasn't perfect. He was still a criminal. Still did things that kept her up at night. But he was trying. For her. For Jabari. Speaking of Jabari, he'd adjusted better than anyone expected. He knew Do-hyun was his father now, called him Dad without hesitation. Do-hyun had moved them to a better apartment, nothing flashy, but safe and comfortable. Every morning, Do-hyun would make breakfast. Terrible breakfast. He was a disaster in the kitchen, but he tried. Then he'd walk Jabari to school, surrounded by guards that Jabari thought were just Dad's work friends. Every evening, he'd come home, and they'd have dinner, like a normal family. Except the man at the head of the table ran Seoul's underworld. Kamari had learned to live with the contradiction. The door opened. Do-hyun walked in, loosening his tie. Behind him, Jabari ran in with his soccer bag. "Mom, I scored 3 goals today," Jabari announced. 3? That's amazing, baby. Dad said if I score 5 next game, he'll take us to Jeju Island. Did he now? Kamari raised an eyebrow at Do-hyun. He shrugged, grinning. The kid's got skills. He gets it from me. You mean from the mom who actually raised him? That too. Jabari dumped his bag and headed to his room to shower. Do-hyun walked over to Kamari and pulled her close. "How was your day?" he asked. "Good. We got the conviction on the Lee case. 3 traffickers going to prison for 20 years each. I heard. I'm proud of you. How was yours? Boring meetings, territory negotiations, the usual." He paused. Volkov's people reached out. They want peace. After what they did to Jabari, I made it very clear that peace comes with conditions. They stay out of Gangnam. They stop all operations involving anyone under 18, and they pay reparations to the families they've hurt. And if they don't agree, then there's no peace. His voice was cold. This was the part of him that still scared her sometimes, the part that could make those kinds of statements without blinking. But then he softened, touching her face. Is that okay? The conditions? He was asking her permission. The head of Seoul's most powerful crime family was asking her if his terms were acceptable. It's okay, she said. He kissed her forehead. I have something for you. Do-hyun, you just bought me a new laptop last week. It's not that kind of gift. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Kamari's heart stopped. Is that? Just look at it first before you panic. She opened the box. Inside was a simple ring, not a diamond, not flashy, just a silver band with a small inscription in Swahili. Nakupenda, she read. I love you. I bought this 10 years ago, Do-hyun said quietly. Right before everything happened. I was going to propose to you under the jacaranda trees. Then my father died, and I ran, and I've carried this ring with me every day since. Kamari's eyes filled with tears. I know I can't give you normal, he continued. I can't promise safety. I can't change what I am. But I can give you all of me. Every dark corner, every scar, every single beat of this damaged heart. Marry me, Kamari. Let me be Jabari's father legally. Let me be yours completely. You're already Jabari's father. I want it official. I want the world to know you're mine, and I'm yours. From the hallway, Jabari's voice called out, Say yes, Mom. I already told him you would. Kamari laughed through her tears. Were you listening? Jabari appeared, grinning. Dad told me he was going to ask. I've been waiting all week. Do-hyun pulled a second box from his pocket and opened it for Jabari. Inside was a simple silver band, matching theirs. This is for you, buddy, so we're all connected. Jabari's eyes went huge. Really? Really? But only if your mom says yes. They both looked at her, her son and the man she loved, the boy who was her whole world, and the man who'd somehow become part of it. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Jabari cheered. Do-hyun pulled her close and kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. The wedding was small. Kamari's mother flew in from Kenya, skeptical at first, but Do-hyun won her over by learning to cook ugali and speaking Swahili phrases Jabari taught him. You hurt my daughter, or my grandson, Mama Omandi told him in Swahili. And I don't care who you are, I will end you. Understood, Mama, Do-hyun replied in careful Swahili. I would expect nothing less. Do-hyun's people came too, his inner circle, the men and women who ran his empire. They treated Kamari with reverent respect, calling her ma'am and bowing deeper than necessary. They're terrified of you, Do-hyun whispered during the reception. Good. You know they all carry guns, right? I know. But they also know that if they upset me, they upset you. And nobody wants that. He laughed and spun her on the dance floor. Jabari danced between them, his new ring catching the light. Later, when the party wound down and Jabari fell asleep on Do-hyun's shoulder, they stood on the balcony of the venue, looking out at Seoul. Do you regret it? Do-hyun asked. Choosing this life? Kamari thought about it, about the danger, the secrets, the constant knowledge that her husband did things that would send normal people to prison. Ask me again when I'm not this happy, she said. So, no regrets right now? Right now? No regrets. He shifted Jabari to one arm and pulled her close with the other. I spent 10 years with all the power in the world, and none of the things that mattered. Now, I have everything. You're still a crime boss. I am. That's not going to change. No. And I'm still going to push you to be better, to use your power for good when you can. I know. I'm counting on it." She leaned into him, their son sleeping peacefully between them. This is crazy, you know? A human rights lawyer married to a mafia boss. Best kind of crazy. 2 years later, Kamari watched from the window as Do-hyun taught 12-year-old Jabari advanced taekwondo moves in their backyard. Their house in Seongbuk-dong was modest by Do-hyun's standards, but it was home. Her phone rang. Min Ji from work. "Kamari, the Minister of Justice wants to meet with you. Apparently someone very powerful has been feeding information to the police about corruption in the trafficking networks. They want to thank whoever it is." Kamari smiled. "Tell them the source wishes to remain anonymous." "Will do." She hung up and went downstairs. Do-hyun had Jabari in a headlock, both of them laughing. Okay, you win," Jabari tapped out. Do-hyun released him and ruffled his hair. "You're getting better. Soon you'll actually beat me." "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "My friend at school. His dad is a lawyer like Mom. He says his dad works in an office all day. What exactly do you do?" Kamari tensed. They'd discussed this. The day would come when Jabari asked real questions. Do-hyun sat down on the grass, pulling Jabari next to him. "I run a business. It's complicated, and sometimes it involves things that aren't, well, normal office work." "Like what?" "Like making sure certain parts of the city are protected, making sure bad people don't hurt good people." "Like a superhero?" Do-hyun glanced at Kamari. She could see him choosing his words carefully. "Not exactly. More like, I work in the gray areas. Not always good, not always bad, but always trying to do what's best for the people I care about." "That's confusing." "I know, buddy. When you're older, we'll talk more about it. But for now, what you need to know is that everything I do to keep you and your mom safe, and to try to make Seoul a little better, in my own way." Jabari thought about this. "Okay, can we get pizza for dinner?" Just like that, the moment passed. Do-hyun caught Kamari's eye and smiled. That night, after Jabari went to bed, they sat together in the living room. Do-hyun had his laptop open, reviewing reports. Kamari was reading case files. 3 more trafficking rings shut down this month, she said. "I heard." "You're doing?" "Let's just say I made some calls." "Thank you." He closed his laptop and pulled her onto his lap. "You know the police are getting closer to figuring out who's feeding them information, right? Let them figure it out. They'll connect it to me eventually. So, you're untouchable." "Am I?" She kissed him. "As long as I'm around, yes." "My fierce wife. Your conscience. Same thing." Years had passed since that day in the airport. Since the moment their eyes met, everything changed. Do-hyun was still Park. Do-hyun still ran the syndicate, still made choices that lived in moral gray areas. But he came home every night to her and Jabari. He'd learned to make chapati, though it was never as good as hers. He attended parent-teacher conferences and soccer games. He slow danced with her in the kitchen and made terrible jokes that made Jabari groan. Seoul's underworld still feared Park Do-hyun, but they also knew that the woman beside him had changed things, that children were off limits now, that trafficking meant death, that the Park Syndicate, while still powerful and still ruthless, had developed something resembling ethics. "Do you still remember me?" Kamari asked quietly, echoing the question she'd wanted to ask him that day at the airport. "The girl from Nairobi?" Do-hyun touched her face. "I never forgot her. She's right here. Stronger now. Fiercer. But still, the woman who made me want to be better." "I didn't make you better. You're still a criminal." "No. But you made me want to use what I am for something more than power. That's better enough." She couldn't argue with that. Seoul still glittered outside their windows. the city that Do-hyun ran from the shadows and Kamari tried to save in the light. Somewhere in the balance between them, they'd found something that worked. He was still the monster that men feared. But he was also the man who cried during animated movies, who made terrible pancakes every Sunday, or who learned Swahili love songs to sing to her when he thought no one was listening. And she was still the idealistic lawyer who believed in justice. But she'd learned that sometimes justice wore a tailored suit and carried a gun. And sometimes the right thing to do existed outside the law. They were impossible. They shouldn't work. But they did. Later that night, Kamari found Do-hyun on the balcony, looking out at the city. "Thinking about something?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "Just remembering. 10 years ago, I got on a plane and left the only good thing in my life because I thought it would keep you safe. And I was an idiot. I should have fought harder, should have found another way. You were young and scared. I was. But then I saw you at that airport and it was like I could breathe again for the first time in 10 years. She rested her head against his back. "Do you still remember me? The question you asked that day?" "Every version of you. The 19-year-old girl who shared her notes. The woman who raised our son alone. The fierce lawyer who makes crime bosses nervous. The wife who dances with me in the kitchen. I remember all of you." "Good answer." He turned and pulled her close. "I love you, Kamari. I will love you until my last breath. Even though I make you redirect your illegal empire towards slightly less illegal activities? Especially because of that." Behind them, through the window, they could see Jabari at the table doing homework, completely unaware of the weight of the world his parents carried. He was safe, happy, loved. Everything else they could figure out. Seoul's underworld still belonged to Park Do-hyun, but his heart belonged to Kamari. And in the end, that made all the difference. All right, we made it to the end. If you loved this story, and I really hope you did, hit that subscribe button because I have so many more stories coming your way. Stories about love, redemption, second chances, and people who choose each other against all odds. Drop a comment and tell me what you thought. Did Kamari make the right choice? Would you have stayed, or would you have run? And if you want more K-drama romance with a twist, let me know. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, remember that sometimes the most beautiful love stories are the ones that shouldn't work, but do anyway.